what is up? What is going to present back again with another football reaction / breakdown video. It is about the truth about Erik ten Hag. You know, not a majority of my fans know about Erik ten Hag. You know, for me, I know a little bit about him, of course, through watching Ajax throughout the Champions League. I will not be saying to you guys, "Oh, I watched the Dutch league," and I know about him from the Champions League, of course. That whole run he did in 2018-2019 season where he beat Real Madrid, went to the semi-final, and then he lost them to Tottenham with Lucas Moura scored, I think it was a hat-trick, wasn't it, to take Tottenham through to the Champions League final, and then Tottenham of course lost to Liverpool, which I'll never forget that. But anyway, I'm just going to be pausing throughout the video as well and saying my piece as well to what they say. This is a video from T4 Football. Shout out to you guys, thank you so much for making high quality football videos as the usual, so I don't keep you guys with for too long. Let's get the video started. Into this dos uno.
By now, everyone knows all about Erik ten Hag and how he likes to play football. They've read all the pieces, they've watched the videos, and so they have a really good idea of how Manchester United are going to play next season, right? Actually, I'm going to argue it's a little bit more complicated than that. Erik ten Hag burst onto the scene. Okay,
I just want to say a few things. The shirt, love it, family. I'm a football kit man myself, you know, like I love football shirts. Maldini, Ronaldo, the back, of course, love that. But about ten Hag, we'll continue.
Seen in 18-19 with an Ajax team that won the Dutch league, they won the Dutch Cup, and they went really deep in the Champions League, going toe-to-toe.
I remember that team. Of course, and a lot of people who are into football, watch football, know that team. The guys like the likes of Donny van der Beek, Frenkie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt was there, Dusan Tadic, Andre Onana, all those man them there. And Hakim Ziyech.
Real Madrid, Spurs, and also Juventus. So we've got the Ajax team.
The UV game as well. The Link scoring the header, you know. But look at the players, man. Tagliafico, Neres, David Neres, bro. Tagliafico, and Mazraoui, Lasse Schöne, bro.
On the board in front of me here from that season, as you can see, they play a 4-2-3-1. There's lots of interesting things about this team. Lots of positional movements, lots of flexibility, lots of interchanges of players. And so let's just have a look at how this...
Especially Donny. Like, Donny, bro, that season, like, man was moving like Thomas Muller. Like you know how Thomas Muller goes forward and always goes tappings from, like, weird angles. Or even, like, when the keeper, like, piles the ball and then the guy's always, like, in front of him, like a vulture. Donny that season...
This team like to function. So let's start off at the forward line, because the first thing to notice is Dusan Tadic. Dusan Tadic, you may remember.
He's not even an out-and-out striker. He's like a centre-forward, centre-attacking midfielder. Of course, Dusan Tadic came from Southampton. I remember when they left Southampton, I was like, why are they leaving Southampton to go play for Ajax? It was a pretty a strange transfer, but again, I think ten Hag knew what he was doing and knew what he was getting from Dusan Tadic, and he's still at Ajax right now, banging out the goals.
From his time at Southampton, didn't play as a striker at Southampton, but plays as a false nine in this 18-19 team for Erik ten Hag. As a false nine, he likes to drop. We know that's what false nines do. And when he makes this movement in here, you're going to see Donny van der Beek
push forward, bro. Man like number 6, Donny, fam.
Donny van der Beek, actually, a lot of his profile looks much like a striker. He gets into the box, he receives the ball in the box a lot as well. So already interchanges here. Now when you're playing with a false nine, obviously you leave a lot of space here at the edge of the box free.
David Neres is coming in and scoring. I'm pretty sure he's the one that scored against Real Madrid in that Champions League game.
Got Ziyech and Neres coming in here. And obviously when you do that kind of thing, you're leaving a huge
Mazraoui and Nicolas Tagliafico
fullbacks to attack. So we're already seeing plenty of movement between these players, switching positions, finding other places to move to. Midfield, we've got a double pivot here of two very different...
Sorry to keep pausing this, guys, and it is a double pivot, right? And those two guys are Lasse Schöne, bro. Like, a lot of people don't know about him. For me, I remember my friends from Amsterdam when they came to Birmingham like a few years back, and we were actually watching the Ajax game, and she's like, oh, Lasse Schöne, that's how I actually know of him. But like, when you look at the players, bro, especially like guys like Tadic, Donny, Ziyech, Tagliafico, Frenkie de Jong, Lasse Schöne, David Neres, Mazraoui, you know, like all these guys, yeah, they technically sound on the ball. They're very good, like players on the ball. Like they actually don't panic like how the majority of most Man United players panic on the ball. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, big head. Screw Harry Maguire, bro. He's done something that's pissed me off. Like this is why I'm gonna keep sending shots at him.
Different players. Frenkie de Jong, everyone knows all about. Brilliant ball carrier. He's going to get down the left-hand side here, carry the ball and lay it off. But he's also really good in build-up moments, so he can drop into the fullback area here and allow Tagliafico to get forward. Or you may see him dropping in between the centre-backs as well, just to help out with the build-up process. And that leaves Schöne, who is going to push forward on the right-hand side, but he's also going to be thinking about his defensive positioning when de Jong is dropping into one of these two spaces. The two centre-backs, Daley Blind and Matthijs de Ligt, very famous, and then Mazraoui, the right-back here, just getting down the line. So that is how Ajax looked in 2018-19, and within 3 years, the team has changed
completely changed, fam. Completely changed. Of course, everybody knows that Donny went. De Jong went to Barca. Matthijs de Ligt went to Juve. Hakim Ziyech went to Chelsea. It's completely changed, bro. Completely changed. The only guys there is like Tadic. Who else? I'm forgetting his name now. He's the bold guy. Klaassen, the midfielder.
The sign of a successful team is that your players become so good that they all move on. And as we can see from the sides here, there are 8 players who are switched out of that original Ajax 18-19 team. So let's just take a look at the 21-22 season Ajax. So let's start again at the front. First thing to notice, most important thing, Sebastian Haller is brought in as a lone striker.
From West Ham. Didn't do well at West Ham in my opinion. Changed nationalities as well. Was French, but changed to the Ivory Coast. You know, when you look at this team now, who else is there as well? He's going to change the team then.
He's not going to play as a false 9, he's going to play very much as a box striker here, which is going to change the
full-on striker. Because Tadic was the false 9.
He's such a great creative player.
Drop back.
David Neres goes off, and we don't see much of him through the course of the season. Hakim Ziyech is sold to Chelsea, and another player is brought in, very exciting player in Anthony.
Badman.
It's been rumoured.
Badman.
Manchester United.
Badman.
Anthony is very different from Ziyech. Ziyech likes to get into the central spaces. Anthony is much more of a touchline hugging winger. And obviously when you've got a striker in the middle, there is less space to get into in the middle there. So this opens up space in a different area for Mazraoui. So rather than Mazraoui going down the line, we're going to see him inverting instead, getting into this very dangerous line towards the goal. Tadic is going to hang around here and do creative Tadic things.
Creative Tadic things, love it. I love this channel.
Donny van de Beek, we know, has a failed experiment at Manchester United, and he is replied.
It's not failed, it's just clowns like Ollie playing McTominay. Screw Ollie, useless guy. Clown.
Stefan Berghuis.
Big clown he was.
Rather than actually playing as a
failure
striker in the way that we saw Van de Beek play, because there's no false 9, we're going to see him sitting more as an attacking midfielder here. Let's have a look at the 2 pivot players then. Frenkie de Jong goes, as we know, to Barcelona. He's replaced by Brian Gravenberch, who is actually very similar in a lot of respects, but also different too. He's going to be a player who likes to get on that.
Gravenberch is like Paul Pogba. He's like Paul Pogba's little brother.
Forward run, but actually where he's slightly different to de Jong is that right at the end of his forward runs, he likes to
sit in the D.
Come across into the edge of the D. He got a few goals from this sort of area. So a little bit more of an attacking presence than Frenkie de Jong, but still a ball carrier all the same. And Gravenberch is not going to be a player that we see dropping in between the lines here. He's going to be much more solid in the middle. Schöne goes to another Eredivisie club, and he's replaced by Edson Alvarez. Now, Edson Alvarez is interesting because he's actually a centre-back who's brought to play in the back line, and he gets pushed forward into more of a defensive pivot player. It's actually him who does these interesting movements, dropping in between the back line or into the full-back area to allow the player on this side, Mazraoui, to get further forward as well. But he's a very, very defensive player. De Ligt's off to Juventus, as we know, and Daley Blind actually is moved out onto the left-back side, and Tagliafico doesn't get much to look in during the season. But the two centre-backs they've replaced by these two new players, so Sandro Martinez and Jurrien Timber, another player who's been rumoured to have links with Manchester United as well. And Onana has a long ban, and so we see Pasveer for most of the season dropping in.
Andre Onana had a ban, I think it was for performance-enhancing drugs or PEDs. I'm pretty sure that way it was. But now he's joined Inter Milan, from what I'm remembering.
Here, so
I think it's
Inter.
Completely must be Inter.
From what we saw before. And as you can see from the way that these build-up patterns are happening, very, very different. We've got fullbacks coming inside. Daley Blind is not the sort of player who's going to get overlaps and do long busting runs. He's going to sit in here as well. He's got great passing range, so he can sit in this sort of inverted position. And help.
One of the mistakes that United did selling Daley Blind, in my opinion, and Angel Herrera.
And we can show these differences using the data, because what I've got in front of me here from our friends at Analytics FC are two pizza charts which show the play style differences between the 2018-19 season and the 2021.
Look away, I'm on a diet. Pizza.
Now, the first thing to notice is that there are stylistic similarities between these two seasons. On the one hand, you've got high retention, so Ajax are possessing the ball well, crossing and counter-pressing. These are all repeated across both seasons. There's also deep circulation that we need to have a look at here, so you can see that as time goes by, Ajax get better and better at possessing the ball. So deep circulation is just passing the ball around the back. So what we see is a team that's moving from slightly less control to more control in those 3 years. And this is back...
Isn't it, bro? Come on, fam. How good is T4 football, fam? How good are these guys, bro? All the work that goes into this, you know. I'm just out here geeking out.
Backed up by the fact that transitions here, you can see it's very high. So in early Ten Hag's Ajax, you're getting players going forward at much more speed, much more directly, and that drops off in the later iteration of Ajax here. Wing play, as we've talked already, with Haller being the focal point of that team.
Being in midfield, guys like Anthony and Mazraoui have to whip those balls in and slap by Borussia Dortmund 4-1, you know.
I think there was more space in the wide areas, and so no surprise then that in 21 and 22 we see an uptick in terms of the wing play. We've got some more data here too, which is the pizza charts for the three midfielders from both seasons. So on the top here, 2018-19, the midfield three, and the midfield three from 21-22 here. Now, lots of writing on this page, but don't worry too much about the writing. Look at the colours on the charts. We've got possession stuff in green, we've got goal creation in blue, and we've got defending in red. So the thing I want you to notice here is that when we compare these players against their counterparts, actually there's a lot of changes between who is doing what in midfield three. So if we start off with Frankie de Jong, we've already talked about how he's a great ball carrier. You can see he's got really good carry and dribble volume here, and that's repeated by Ryan Gravenberch. So both of these players are expected to carry the ball in some more advanced areas. The difference is, though, that we see that Frankie de Jong is generating a lot more expected goals from ball progression here than Ryan Gravenberch. And actually, a lot of the work for goal creation is coming from Stefan Berghuis, who we saw as a central midfielder in the new assistant. Unlike Donny van de Beek, who's playing as more of a second striker. And then if we look at the defensive portions here, the red portions, the majority of the work is being done across all three players in the 18-19 season. But when we look at the 21-22 season, we can see that Edson Alvarez, that centre-back who's been converted to a pivot player, he's doing a lot of the defensive work here, and his teammates don't have as much to do. So the thing to notice here is that all of these midfielders are doing the same thing in both teams, but they're sharing the responsibilities differently. Now you may say to me, well, this is still the same system, there's stylistic similarities, both teams are playing in the 4-2-3-1. So we do know a certain amount about Erik ten Hag, right? Actually, let's go back in time, have a look at Erik ten Hag's CV and see how he played earlier in his career as a manager. So I've got Erik ten Hag's CV in front of me here. As you can see, he ends his playing career around 2002 with FC Twente and then goes immediately into the youth management system there. He becomes the assistant manager under Fred Rutten.
I was going to say, Bayern.
2012 is a big year for
Go Ahead Eagles.
The first full managerial job that he gets. He goes to Go Ahead Eagles in the second division of Dutch football, does really well with them, actually gets them promoted through the playoffs. And he makes a really interesting decision at this point, because rather than staying with Go Ahead Eagles in the league and moving up a division, he moves to Bayern Munich 2, the second team of Bayern Munich in the
Bayern Munich 2, number 2.
Regionalliga in Germany, so the fourth tier of German football. Now the thing about 2013 Bayern Munich is that the senior manager at that time is Pep Guardiola. So this is clearly a really important time for Erik ten Hag in terms of his development.
Yeah.
And from here he goes back to the Netherlands, back to the Eredivisie, to FC Utrecht, with all of these tactical ideas going on in his head. Now we need to talk a little bit about the context at this point, because in 2015, it's a year before the Dutch national team failed to make the Euros, and then in 2018 they then failed to make the World Cup as well. So this is a very stultifying time in Dutch football. And the arguments that are often given is that tactically Dutch football had hit a bit of a wall. So let's take a look at some of these tactical ideas and see what's going on. Now in 2015 in the league, every team that Erik ten Hag plays against plays in a very specific way. They play a 4-2-3-1, and then out of possession the wingers drop in, the 10 pushes up, and they defend in a 4-4-2 block. Now Erik ten Hag does some interesting...
Sorry guys, I'm just remembering like the formation that I used to play under my manager when I was in college, and it was a 4-3-3. But whenever, of course, the team had the ball, everyone would push back, and it would be like a 4-5-1, no, a 5-4-1. It was mad times as well. Like, I'm just looking at that and remembering like the wingers that we had, like in John, John, like Jean, like he was like a French name, but still, man.
Things. He starts off with a 3-5-2, which no one does. Decides it doesn't work, and then switches to this 4-4-2 with the diamond. And actually, what he's doing is almost the exact opposite of what everyone else is doing, because in possession he's playing in a 4-4-2, but out of possession, what you see is the 2 strikers push wide, the 10 pushes up, and then you're defending in a 4-3-3, which is quite similar to what we see from Liverpool at the moment. Now, in terms of what we see in possession, you're going to see 2 strikers pushing forward, and they're happy to pass the ball around the back a little bit, but if they're put under any pressure, they're just going to play the ball long to one of these 2 strikers, try and hold it off. They're not scared of going long whatsoever. Now, we can see this in the data. So let's just have a look at this. We've got 2 pizza charts here, again, from our friends at Analytics FC, and they are showing the play style of Erik ten Hag's Utrecht. And we divided this in 2. So on the one hand, we've got teams at the top of the table, this is how Utrecht played against them, and then teams at the bottom of the table, and this is how Utrecht played against them. Now, if we start off with these bottom of the table teams, we can see the beginnings, the emergence of Erik ten Hag's stylistic ideas here. So high retention, crossing, counter press, these were all things that we saw in early Ajax. Transitions are a little bit higher here, which is again something we saw in early Ajax, but then they reduced down. But everything else starting to look very similar to what we see in those early days. Now that makes a certain amount of sense, because against teams at the bottom of the table, you'd expect Utrecht to be able to control the ball, possess the ball, and be able to do a little bit more with it. Now when we look at the teams at the top of the table, we can start seeing that Utrecht are playing in a very different way. The high retention has dropped, the crossing has dropped, the counter-pressing has dropped, but we're starting to see other things emerge as well. So low block pushes up, long balls are starting to happen much more. And so this suggests that Erik ten Hag is actually a much more flexible manager. When he's faced with teams that are better than his team, he's going to do slightly different things. And this raises the question of what kind of manager are we going to see at Manchester United next season? Because it's not going to be the case that he's going to be managing a team like Ajax, who are expected to dominate every game. There are going to be some games where he's playing against teams that are better than him. So anyone who tells you that they know exactly what Erik...
Like the Man Cities, Liverpools, Tottenham's, even when you go away, teams are hard to play away, like Leicester, Aston Villa, like there's some, it's going to be a very, it's going to be a tough test for him as well, you know, because it's going to be a big shock. Because when man shows up to Brentford, bro, you might lose 4-0. it's going to be a huge shock for him, but continue, my friend.
What Erik ten Hag is going to do next season is lying. There's actually going to be much more flexibility, a lot more going on, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. If you like this 100%. Video, please consider subscribing to the
channel. Shout out to T4 Football, man. Like, these guys are sick. Of course, guys, that's the video. It's been 20 minutes long, but yeah, I'm very interested to see how Erik ten Hag plays as well, and the players that he actually picks, because in my opinion, he shouldn't trust the guys like Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, McTominay, Fred, Marcus Rashford, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. These guys that he should not be trusted, because once he starts like asking a lot from them. These guys, they'll falter and whimper out, in my opinion, because they've not got the mindset to actually keep up with his demands as well, you know. And some of them aren't even technically good to even play in his style, or even his style of football, to even change up their styles as well, you know. So hopefully he actually picks that up as well, you know, and hopefully like he actually gets the players that he does want to suit his style of to suit his style of football. Again, when I'm interested to see how he comes up against Pep Guardiola, how he comes up against Jurgen Klopp, especially Jurgen Klopp, bro. How the way that Liverpool play their football, like I call it World War Z, like football, like the way that the players are just always bombing forward, pressure, fam, non-stop pressure, bro. All of them are just up. Do you know how like the zombies in World War Z are just like sprinting and they're crawling over bodies and stuff like that? That's how like the Liverpool team plays football, like, in my opinion, and that's how I see it, you know. But guys, that's been the video. If you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns, you know, do comment down below. If you do want more videos like this where I just sit down and just geek out about football, comment down below as well, you know, because I actually did enjoy this this video, and seeing what Erik ten Hag has done as well in his previous career, and the players that he's had, even like the tactical breakdown, like the pizza charts and all that, you know, like Team for Football actually go into, you know. And I remember when I was literally watching one of their videos, like a few years, the way that I found them was when I was when United were looking for a right winger, and Jadon Sancho had not signed it, and there was still like options for them to sign, and then Calvin Stengs, and they were going into depth about like how Calvin Stengs plays football, like the guy from, I think it was from AZ Alkmaar or PSV, you know, and he was also like a good player too. But that's how I found out about them. But if you got thoughts, comments, questions, you know, to comment down below. Subscribe, support your boy, guys. I'm knackered. Been a 20-minute long video. Thank you if you stayed this long. Thank you so much. And the key word, if you have stayed this long as well, you know, is Harry Maguire. Should be take the captain armband from Harry Maguire, guys. That is the it's key secret word. I'm signing out, guys. Keep it real.